with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Commands, talk today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. I want to say thanks to you for listening and joining us. And if she doesn't mind, a special thanks to Miss Susan. She's right there. I can imagine that I'm looking out, from the hilltop over the ocean, perhaps pretending that there was still a wonderful north sun. I can see that's just the shimmering seas. It's going to be some open line, perhaps, definitely from 1 o'clock onwards, where we have a wonderful young chap joining us, inspiring dialogue and discourse. But our first friends from the NAU will join us and get a chance to share with you as we invite you to be a part of today's Talk Today. Stay tuned.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is a few minutes of open line until our guests get settled and join us. Why don't we hear from you? 949-8037, 949-6990. Or likewise, if you like the toll-free line, hey, some of us, rather have someone else pick up the tab. Others are just generous and gracious and like to do so. Either way, the option is there for you. 1-800-534-8255. Or if you prefer to WhatsApp, 925-3261. Now, if you had to make a list, top 5, top 10, could you get to 100? Maybe you think it's only 2 things. What are those things that are important to you? Could you make the list? Could you rank them? Could you put them in order? For some, without question, health and education, education and health. It'd be 1 and 2, 2 and 1. Others would say, well, they're important, but I need a paycheck, so I need to be employed. Others say, well, I have a paycheck, but it doesn't go too far. Before I even get to the bank, it's almost spent because all the bills, more bills than paycheck. Cost of living, that may be important. Others, and I say this to you, not to put them in any order, but a fellow said, those things are important. So as I chatted with him early this morning, as something had transpired, he said, we should worry about our infrastructure, our development. We should worry about the quality of our education systems, our healthcare. We should worry, and be concerned and contribute to making sure our environment, our physical environment, our air quality, that those things are good. But how many of us are paying attention to the quality of life? Say from the perspective, he says, giving any thought to what people feel like when their homes have been, broken into. We use interesting words like home invasions and burgled. Someone broke in and stole something. Whether they accosted others, whether people were hurt, harmed, or intimidated, whether they were home or not. But the fact that these things transpired. And seemingly, very frequently in this country. People's cars are smashed. People feel that they can't walk, in and out of their yards. They can't go to places. What is happening? And worse, not only are they, perhaps being taken advantage of in that instance, but what if they're physically accosted and harmed? Now, we can point to the police and say, oh, they're not doing a great job or doing enough, or that the courts are not being punitive enough. But really, should that be where our concerns and criticisms are? Should we not be more in partnership with trying to help them? And should not we be looking more, he says, at the preventative measures to say, oh, well, things are hard for people, so that's why they steal. Well, maybe that is, but why is that? Certainly it must have been hard for our parents and their parents. Did they steal? Surely it's probably hard for people in other places. But do they behave with such maliciousness, vindictiveness, such, violent ways? Perhaps. But even if they do, is that what we want in our society? And as I listened to what he shared earlier, recognizing that, yes, he's speaking from a perspective of, again, having witnessed another, incident of physical violence, having, have to listen to co-workers who shared, while they're away, whether at work or they're off for the weekend, to return home in the evening or after, what they thought was a little bit of rest and relaxation, to find that someone entered their, premises without permission and helped themselves to whatever was there, whether it was the electronics, the jewelry, maybe the $2 that were on the countertop to pay, for the next shipment of water or what have you. Interesting that people are not appreciating how difficult. Now, we're going to get our guests settled momentarily. The excellent company. Miss Susan, you want to walk us in or you want us to take the break? Because I'm happy either way. I'm good. Wow. Listen to me. You couldn't hear what she said to me, but I remember repeating back to you. Say you're good. I like to hear that. And I trust and pray that you are equally good and that you're going to make it better, and that this is going to be a society that doesn't look at things through some sort of rose-colored lens and pretend that we don't have issues. But equally, we're not going to be negative, and that whatever challenges, we're going to meet them head on together and make it better. Not just because we're going to be responsible and prepared to be held accountable, but because we're not going to tolerate the nonsense that seemingly has become accepted, not just here, but everywhere. And let's start with our own. What is it that we're not willing to accommodate and accept anymore? Is it the behaviors of a few that make it challenging, for the many? Well, we want you to be a part of a discussion as we have the wonderful opportunity to welcome to our studio, an opportunity to talk about the Needs Assessment Unit. And if you have, I confess to you, I don't, but it's there, thankfully. The YouTube channel, or whatever that's called, that Ms. Susan reminds me to tell you that I forget often, you can look at, and I invite you to do so because we have some of the best guests, always, and today no exception. The director of the Needs Assessment Unit, Ms. Tamara D. Hurlston, together with a fellow that I might attempt to embarrass, because as he walked through the door, our door was about 15 feet high. He had a duck down, turned sideways. What an imposing presence, man. He should be the center forward for the Lakers, showing guys how to post up. The wonderful deputy director, Mr. Matthew Hilton. Mr. Reese, Mr. Mara, I always say, women first. But in this case, if you would permit me, can I say good afternoon to Mr. Hilton? How are you, sir?
Not too bad, sir. Not doing too bad, sir. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, it is an honor, man. I look at you sometimes. One of the few times I go over to the new $100 million building that we have over there, that's so efficiently, built, that I see you there, man. I'm thinking, this guy should be playing basketball, man. Straight up there, center, taking the rebounds and showing their boys how it's done. Huh?
See, that would be nice, but I think I'm better served where I'm at.
But we're glad that you are where you are. And I say that because we hear about gentle giants, right? We see people with an imposing presence, But you just have that great, charisma, but also that aura about you. So it's a pleasure, man, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank you.
I can't go to bed like you, but nonetheless. Huh? But Miss Tamara, thanks too for coming on board.
Oh,
and for
sorry, I'm having problems with this.
The headset? Yes. That's okay. See, your head not big like mine, so it won't fit as tightly as yours. Don't worry, man.
All right. So
we'll get there.
No problem.
Right.
Thank you for having us again.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure. And I really appreciate you, your team, but also for the increasingly willingness of other civil servants and departments to come on, share with the public, and help us as a public to take ownership, to engage, to be informed, and to recognize that if we're involved, we can make it better. I mean, this is, I'll say it to you this way as a guy said it to me earlier. And if this is incorrect, let me know. But I was following his logic. He says, if you look at the Cayman Islands as a company, and as all of us here as owners in the company, so someone's going to be the directors who sort of look at things, and public, private, whether you're the chief officer, but that's the governor, the deputy governor, the premier, however you look at that. And then there are the managers, the line managers, and then the workers. And, we work on a shift, so we're constantly going. So the economy and the country all in one, and we're benefiting, to a different extent. And he said, if we all did that, how efficient, how effective, how much better it would be. The policing, as we see it, may not be as expensive, may not be as necessary. You know, they don't need to have these high-powered rifles or whatever the guns they got now. Total opposed to it. If you agree otherwise, my apologies. That's just my view. But we don't need to have zooming F-15s overhead and warships off. It seems idealistic and to an extent naive. But could it not work? You know, I thought if we were just to be invested and be vested and be willing to say, okay, you need help? Well, here's a little piece of breadfruit. You over here got a little cassava. How primitive societies engage, how much effective they are, simply because they understand other subsistence or necessity. This is what they need to survive. But we can lay back in air-conditioned comfort, press a button, and things zoom overhead, and nobody the wiser, and yet we're the weaker. But anyway, maybe I'm becoming too pensive today. Miss Susan says try to behave. Well, Mr. Mara, welcome to you, Ma. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us again. And thankfully, I have today Matthew with me, the Deputy Director, the Jolly Giant. And Melissa, as you know, was here last time, but she's actually over in the BRAC now, helping us out with some stuff in our Cayman BRAC office. So
I'm sure Melissa would appreciate me saying that we're exact opposites. If I'm the gentle giant, not that she's not gentle, but
yeah, she is short, and she can be someone to deal with. But we really want to come on today to talk about our customer service, and that's where we're going to focus on today. I think it's very important that we oftentimes speak about our challenges and our issues, but in those times, and we neglect to recognize our staff and the departments for doing great work. And that's what we're going to focus on today, acknowledging the fact, of course, that we do have issues, naturally, as most government departments in other areas would have. But we are going to try to address some of the issues that we've tackled over the years and how we've come up with solutions. And I'm going to have Matthew just start us out to give a little background to what we're going to be discussing.
Thanks very much, Matthew.
So definitely we want to highlight the fact that we're a department that we recognize that there's always challenges. And I think in the type of work that we do worldwide, you'll see that there always will be challenges in that area of work. But we don't look at that to say we can't improve, and we're always striving to find ways that we can make those improvements. And I think what we want to share with your public today is that the different things that we have put in place to gain some of those improvements from the issues that we've observed ourselves on the ground. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard the different issues. Years ago, you'd hear a lot of complaints about people having to line up from early in the morning just to access our services and then still not be able to get through because of how congested it was. And just little things that we've done, you don't hear that anymore. You don't hear no one speaking about the fact that you don't hear about it. But you don't because of the things that we've implemented. And just some of the stuff I want to touch on. So just the audience knows where we're going. We'll be looking at the different changes that we've made to our service delivery, the types of service that we offer, the changes we've made to our operations, the changes we've made in regards to even the physical structure of our buildings to see how that can better serve the client and meet their needs. We're looking at our customer service, the professionalism of the staff, and we're also looking at some additional things that we do outside of the scope of our assigned duties just to ensure that we are being good contributors and influences within the community. Yeah. So services. I guess we can take a look at services first. Some things that we've done is we've noticed that over the years, the amounts that we provide sometimes is not meeting the needs of what our clients have. So each year we undertake to review our criteria, our policy, to compare what we're currently doing to the trends that we've seen and how they're developing, to see what changes we need to make to that service delivery or those services that we do provide to better serve the needs of the client that we're serving, right? So some of the things we've done, for example, is the rental. We do hear a lot about the rental in the public for various different reasons, but before we were providing $800, a maximum of $800, per family. We have increased that some time ago to $1,200, depending on the size of your family. That's the maximum that you're able to have assistance with. The food assistance that we provide, we had a real rough spot where we were doing $50 a week for a single individual. We've now returned and back to how it was years and years ago to $75 per week. We are currently looking at what needs to be changed.
Just to clarify, that is for a single able-bodied person. The amount for food would increase naturally on the size of the family.
Yes, yeah. And bearing in mind as well, I think something the public would appreciate understanding is that the services we provide are intended to be supplemental. It's not intended to be a replacement to carry it, because I don't think it would be possible for us to do that for the vast population of clients that we serve, but it is definitely intended to be a supplement service that assists you with where you fall short. Yeah. So if some of these numbers still seem a little bit low, just understand that that's the intention with the limited budget that we have to use.
All right. As we go through that, could we pick it up after the break? Have you not
For
only
sure.
remind us, but get people to appreciate that this is continuing, and as much as we're doing, we can do together even more.
Yes.
All right. Good company of both Mr. Mara Hurlston and Mr. Matthew Hilton, the director and deputy respectively, over at the Needs Assessment Unit. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Hi, this is Bob Kingsley, and this weekend on the Countdown,
we're proudly sponsored by Merengue Town. Liven up your weekends and let loose with grooves of Merengue Town. It's time. Feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibes. It's time for Merengue Town.
and of course the rest of the 40 hottest hit makers on radio this weekend on the Country Top 40.
Place household garbage in large bags prior to its placement in a garbage container to avoid spillage during collection. A suitable garbage container must be made of sturdy materials that will allow it to withstand weathering. A tightly fitted cover is also necessary to keep out water and stray animals. Do your part. Keep your surroundings clean. Store household garbage in a suitable garbage container. For more tips on proper waste packaging, please visit DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
Sounds of Expressions, a Toastmasters event on May 29th at 6 p.m. at the Georgetown Town Hall.
An evening of intimate poetry and live music displayed by our Toastmasters and local musicians.
Admission only $10. All proceeds go towards our youth leadership program.
Come on down and support our youth as it promises to be a night of captivating entertainment.
Sounds of Expressions.
Tickets available at Sings Rotary Shop, a Toastmasters fundraising event proudly sponsored by Radio Cayman,
Star 92.7, Audio Wave,
The Performance Lab,
FunFet, Acorn Publishing, and Sings Roti Shop.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us, and thanks both to Mr. Mara Hurlston and Mr. Matthew Hilton, the director and deputy respectively over the Needs Assessment Unit, for joining us. And something that you shared at the outset is that, I guess generally as people, what does the marketers tell us? A bad experience is repeated, was it 19 times or 19 million times? A single good experience, probably not that much. We tend to be more negative, more willing to share the bad than the good. And the good that you have seen, something as maybe simple as some, but significant to those affected by it. You don't have the lines anymore, as you should. Let us highlight the good. Let us acknowledge that there are areas across the board that we can do for all of us. I mean, I wouldn't mind, being healthier and run faster, but if I don't exercise and eat better, I can keep dreaming, right?
That is
Got to put some effort into it. Yep. So let's do so we can get there. Mr. Hilton, just before the break, you guys were sharing. So as you wish, both of you, either or, please continue.
So a recap in case anyone is just tuning in to hear you, Dwayne. We're going over the different services that we provide and the improvements we've made in those services over the years based on the need we've observed in the trends from from our clients' perspective. So we touched on the rental increase there. We touched on the food vouchers, how we've increased that as well per family, depending on the size of your family. We've also increased the utilities. That was a big increase. Before we provided a maximum of $1,500 allowance per year, not all at once necessarily, but throughout the year you're eligible for that amount. It's been increased to $2,500. So a whole $1,000 increase there.
And if I could just interject right there, as we would all know, utilities actually increased last year.
Yes.
Last year, June, I think, is when it was, right around the summer period. And with that, of course, there's more of a demand for that particular expense line item. And these are some of the things that at NAU do. We pay attention to market changes and what's going on in our economy, and we make recommendations. Not everything we recommend will necessarily be able to be approved because, as we know, the budget is limited. But we do acknowledge and we realize the constraints that our families are going through. And just to reverse back to food for a second, the food bank is also another option. Like Matthew correctly said, our what we give as benefits is actually just a supplement. It is just that. It doesn't mean that that's how much it takes to feed your family. But we also do, in conjunction with providing food stipend for food, we refer persons to the local food banks within their communities so they can gain access to additional items as needed. Sorry.
We do try to encourage and support those community-based service agencies as well, because it's impossible to think one agency, government or not, can do it on its own. So I do encourage all private entities to try to get involved as best as possible. Now, we do optical. We've increased that from $250 to $350. We school lunches. Before we were doing $6 for primary school students, or was it $4 for primary school students? I believe.
I think it was $6.
It was $6 all across for primary and high school. We've increased that to $6.50 to meet the needs of the primary school children, but $8 for high school children. We've increased the preschool allowance from $300 to $450 per month. We've done uniforms. We've increased the amount that we give per child for uniforms. And clothing allowance, we have a clothing allowance as well for, not uniforms, obviously. It was $200 before. We've increased it to $250, and you can get a maximum of $750 per household, depending on the size of your family. And we provide summer camp fees as well. We've increased the amount that we provide for that. And able-bodied persons, previously we provided up to a maximum of a month worth of assistance for somebody who's considered able-bodied with no dependents, meaning they don't have children and they're fit and able to work. But there are difficulties in getting jobs, and we recognize that. So we've increased that to 3 months worth of assistance, and hopefully that's sufficient time to help someone to sort themselves out and be able to be self-sufficient. Now, those are some of the changes that we've made to our services and what we provide to people, how we've increased that based on the changes and trends. But we've also made changes in our operational side as well, how we deliver that service, how we go about processing it to make it a more pleasant and efficient experience for the client, right? So a quick example is the food card. Before, we would provide these paper vouchers, almost like gift certificates that you'd have to come collect every week or every 2 weeks. You take that to the store, and of course, you ended up having to spend the whole thing at one time because it's just the voucher that's it. There's no coming back for it, right? So there were inefficiencies there. It was unpleasant for the client to have to report to our office every single week to collect something. Then you have to spend everything all at once. It may not be convenient for you. And so what we've done like a card system where we work along with the grocery stores. It's almost like a debit card. It's charged with a certain amount, and you can use that just like a debit card. Swipe as much as you use, as much on the card, and that way you can go back as many times as you want, and you never have to come back to our office to top it up, other than get reassessed to have it topped up, because it's done automatically, electronically, every 2 weeks, every week, whatever the case may be. So that's a lot more convenient for our clients. We've also tried to adopt something similar in the BRAC based on what the stores are able to deliver. So the best we could do was to have a store credit system where we would send the information to the store directly, and they would open a credit for you so you can go and utilize that as you go along. Rentals. We started doing registered mail, so the landlords wouldn't have to present to our office each month to collect a check. We've mailed it out directly to them, or we've recently as well, I think it was October last year.
It's October last year. Yeah, we implemented the direct deposit for our landlords, and that's been working great for some landlords. We do know some still have challenges, and we're tweaking that because it's also something new to government. We were actually the first agency in government to implement direct deposits. So that's another accomplishment for the needs assessment unit. But we are working through some teething issues, and we will be coming back later on in the year to talk about some new changes to our rental guarantees that we're going to propose for in the future also.
And that's bound to have more wins for the landlord, because we definitely wanted to make it a seamless process for both landlord and client, to be as painless as possible so it can be fluid and less interruptions there. Now, we noticed that some of our clients are working clients, and to be as accessible to them as possible, we've went ahead and extended our office hours until 6:30. We still open at 8:30 in the morning, but on Monday to Thursday we open until 6:30 so they can come in. We don't necessarily set appointments for assessments at that time, but we will, if there's something you need to do to discuss with the office or whatever the case may be, we are open and available to the public at that time. Since I touched on the assessments, just so aware as well, one other efficiency we put in place is that we now do assessments over the phone. Once you are a recurring client, not a first-time client, because we want that first-time contact for sure, we will, once we have all your documents and everything that we require for the assessment, we'll give you a call. We do the assessment over the phone. It's more convenient. It can be done at a time. It can be done at 6 in the afternoon when you're off work. It could be done in the morning whenever you're available. Yeah. It's definitely a win for the clients. And we do home visits as well. So if there's someone who may be bedridden, they're not able to come themselves. We don't do it as a practice for all clients, but in a situation where we don't have the staff for that. We would love to, but we can't. Now, but in the instance where it's a disabled person who can't make it out to us, or if it's an elderly person, same situation, then we'll definitely make arrangements to visit them at their home to do the assessment and make that contact.
And I'd just like to go back up to our opening hours because we give an extra 6 hours a week, basically, to the public. I don't think there is any other government department currently doing that unless it's a shift-based department. We're not a shift-based department, but yet we give an extra 6 hours. So I think, like I said, I don't even think immigration or anyone else actually opens consistently for 4 days out of the week till 6:30 during the week, and then we close at 5 on Fridays. So we have prioritized our clients. We've gained efficiencies over the years, but we also try to accommodate best we can, as Matthew said, in addition to doing home visits and home assessments. So I just want to make sure the public is aware that we are open till 6:30 Monday through Thursday. That gives them that extra 6 hours to get their services done or their needs fulfilled.
No, I just, for what it's worth, I mean, I've had a couple, only in passing, of, I guess, clients or indirect clients who have commented that they've received calls 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. Must be a time that you have arranged. And they thought, wow, this nonsense that civil servants don't work. Don't apply to you guys.
And I'm glad that someone actually called and said that because in regards to our officers, something else that we probably were going to speak on later on, but I'd like to say it first because sometimes we run out of time. Our officers are very hardworking. Most times that you go by the NAU, not that I should really be saying this, I guess, but staff are there till long hours into the night. I won't say how long, but they are. And the reason is because they're dedicated and they want to make sure that we can fulfill as many services to our clients as possible, knowing that we have a resource limitation. But they do try. And this isn't for compensation. This isn't for comp hours or for overtime. They are doing this out of the goodness of their heart because they are our people and we do care. And so the staff feel dedicated and invested into making sure that we serve our vulnerable population. So I know some of them are probably listening. I just wanted to say again that you guys are doing an awesome job, and this is one of the reasons we also wanted to come on the radio because it can be, tiring hearing all the negative press and knowing that you're doing your all and knowing that we actually get positive feedback within our organization from the public. But of course, some things people choose not to put on social media or in the press because it is confidential and personal. So we just want the staff to know that we hear you as management. We're listening, and we think that you're doing an awesome job. Well,
it's, not that I speak to a big audience, but I was so touched just recently. I didn't know the particulars. Don't need to know them. But someone just in passing, and we banter a lot. And sometimes his comments can be cutting about the society, and he just, made a reference that apparently something he referred to someone through NAU, and it was such a positive outcome to see the dedication. And it was, as I said to him, you just can't give a compliment when there's offhanded compliments, but as we talked about it, it's good to see the dedication, the discipline, the determination, not because you're getting a big bonus at the end of the year as you would in some organizations, right? But the fact that your staff is there committed, it made me feel kind of good for a minute. I felt almost tall that day, whoa, my civil servants were rocking. So thanks for what it's worth,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, Ms. Susan, that break looms. See how quickly it goes, Mr. Hilton? All right, we're going to continue chatting when we come back. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and helping us to be at least a little bit more informed and accessible. So please join us after the break.
The perfect night's sleep you've always dreamed of is now a reality. May is the Sleep Better month, and Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery is here to help you achieve just that. The top brands in mattresses are the top brands in pillows, offering from breathable comfort to cooling technology, body pillows, chill pillows, and a lot more pillow for every sleep style. Check out the new arrivals of living room sets, bedroom sets, and beautiful home decor. We have the complete look to finish your home, all available at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery. Showroom on the second floor at the four-way stop, Hospital and Walkers Road.
Now until supplies last, clearance on select Beauty Rest mattresses at the Mattress Gallery by Tomlinson Furniture.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Did you know government agreed very early on that the piers would be built on pilings in deeper water to minimize the environmental footprint? Marine life will still be able to move freely underneath them, and coral relocation remains part of the plan.
Looking forward, looking bright.
Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Did you know that recycling collection containers are located island-wide on Grand Cayman? The Department of Environmental Health's program is an integral part of DEH's waste management responsibility in the Cayman Islands. Start your recycling program at home today. Put your type 1 and 2 plastics in appropriate DEH recycling containers at all Foster's supermarkets, Kirk Market, or Hurley's Grand Harbor. Please keep the Cayman Islands clean. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. For more information about recycling, go to www.deh.gov.ky.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks so much. And if it's not an inopportune time, perhaps you'll allow me to commend the Deputy Governor and his team for not only moving towards the world-class civil service, but through the motivation, the incentives, and the recognition to, whether the public takes it on board, but civil servants appreciate it. At least somebody saying, hey, you know what, you're doing a good job, at least I appreciate it. I'm honored to be able to have the opportunity to speak, about the needs assessment, with the director and the deputy, Mr. Mara and Mr. Matthew, for sharing with us. A society that looks after its most vulnerable, that is not just compassionate, concerned, but committed to making sure that people who need help get help when they need it. Give your mama flowers while she can still smell them, right?
Exactly.
Provided there's no allergy, and maybe you want to give a piece of cake instead. But let's live and love and laugh when we can hear the joy. So thank you all for what you do. As you were sharing just prior to the break, please continue because I'm enamored.
Okay, no problem. Perfect. Now, we're talking about some of the wins in our operational changes, and earlier on in the show, I mentioned the issues that we had a number of years ago with persons coming in and then having to line up early in the morning in order to be able to get services. We sat down as management and we looked at that and tried to figure out how can we fix this issue, because we serve a large number of people. We have limited staff to do it, but there has to be something that we can do. And sure enough, we came up with a solution, and that doesn't happen. As if overnight it went from overnight where there was no longer a need to line up, because just a simple change in our policy. And so that's something as we've done for the public. It has resulted in less delays as well because of the efficiency of now what you have to do to get an appointment in that process. Now there's less delays once everything that we need is there, to process those assessments. We've put additional staff in the BRAC. A really big project for us, something that we're continually doing, is looking at our database, because we want to gain as much efficiencies as possible, and technology should be working for you, right? So we are currently reviewing our database to gain some of those efficiencies. We have done revisions in the past and we have gained some efficiencies, but we know that there's a lot more we can do, and I think the next rollout, once this project is finalized, it'll be very beneficial to the clients and to the workers as well. The programs. So it's not just about giving handouts, right? You have to also give a handout, because that's really the real intention of the unit. We've been focusing on the handouts because of time and resource limitations, but we are moving as best as we can to a direction of helping people to becoming more and more self-sufficient. And so what we've been doing is looking at what are the needs of our clients to be able to reach that goal, and then we refer them to existing programs that are there to participate in those programs, to be able to work on those skills that are needed, so that they don't necessarily need to come to NAU. They can rely on themselves, right? Last year, we did an initiative to launch a number of programs as well. It was like a pilot to test to see how it would work, and it went really well, to be honest with you. We did a number of courses with clients to help them to focus on different things. Some of the areas that we touched on just briefly is budgeting, how to do better budgeting, things such as nutrition, how to shop healthy on a small budget. So different skills like that. Areas that we will be focusing on is how to limit your utility usage. We were reached out by an organization sometime last year, and they wanted to assist with providing bulbs to our clients, efficiency bulbs. And that alone, you're helping the environment while you're also reducing your electrical charges. So there's different little things that we can do, and we want to be able to expose our clients to that, to make them equipped to handle those things themselves.
And just to add in on the programs, because as you know, funds are very limited, and that's why last year it was actually just a pilot, because we could only do so much with the limited funds that we had in our budget. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future with the budget, but we will be calling on public sector partnerships so that we can possibly get the community, as you said, the business community, any private individual on board to see how we can help our people, because we're all living in the Cayman Islands and in this community together. So we're going to try to partner up with others to see how we can best provide those programs we think that are most beneficial to our clients.
We're in this together, whatever we do, there's going to be a cost and a consequence.
Yes.
So doesn't matter what that is,
Yes.
Commend you for it, man. I'm very excited. Yeah, I help up.
Yes.
Another thing that we've done, doing in the interest of the client, is we've looked at our structure at our office, and we went ahead and we opened a ground floor unit. It's more accessible for persons with physical limitations. It opens more space for the growing client population. It makes it more of it's more fit for purpose than our previous office space was, and it as I said, it's wheelchair accessible. We've put a television in the waiting area so we can play educational programs while you're waiting, so you're learning as you're interacting with any, you're constant in a learning mode. We also, before in the previous office, there was bathroom access, but it was like a public bathroom access for the building where we're located. Now in our downstairs, we have specific bathroom access for our clients directly, so it's a bit more convenient for them. So anything we can do to offer a better service delivery, we're going to make sure that we can, once it's within our power to do so.
And just to speak on something as simple as the bathroom access, as of recently, I think it was about a week ago, we all management got together and discussed what other changes we could possibly make. Something as simple as putting a changing station in the bathroom for mothers to be able to change their children. So we've done other modifications in there just to make sure that our clients are as comfortable as possible while they are at the needs assessment unit. I'd also like to take this time to just give a huge thank you to David Johnson and Richard Graham from the Public Works Department. I hope they don't mind, or I'm not embarrassing them, but they've done an exceptional job in ensuring that the needs assessment unit facilities are always up to par. No matter what we request, they're there. Just over the weekend, they helped us to install some carpeting because we had, persons tripping on the carpeting. And as of this morning, they're there again, seeing how we can possibly improve even more on our downstairs area to accommodate clients and to ensure that they're as comfortable as possible. So thank you so much, Public Works Department. Like I said, David Johnson and Richard Graham, you all are doing an awesome job, and thank you again.
Yes, we call on them often and they respond always.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a strong team.
Yes.
You rely on. Yes. They do the job that needs to be done.
And if I could just, I know our time is limited, but I just wanted to go on to say a couple of things to hit before we leave. Our Happy or Not survey As you know, government rolled out an initiative from last year where they selected some of the top departments that had the most complaints. And Needs Assessment Unit was actually selected within that. I actually volunteered for Needs Assessment Unit to be there. So I wanted to see what the results would actually be. Surprisingly, our 2018 result was actually at 89% average of customer satisfaction. That's quite high for a welfare agency. We didn't expect it. This year, as I ran the report this morning, we're at 92 for 2019. So we've increased that. 92% customer satisfaction.
And I haven't been over there, so it's not me hitting the button.
No. So that is for the staff to be commended for doing exceptional work. We also want to touch on the fact that, like you said, the Deputy Governor wants a world-class civil service. And we have actually been, 15 of our officers have been selected for the Chief Officer Choice Award. So they were actually winners. And of the 15, 6 went on to be Deputy Governor Award recipients. And that is over 50% of our staff that now have received one sort of award, either from the Chief Officer or from the Deputy Governor himself. I think that's commendable. I don't know if there's any other department out there that can say that they have those type of statistics.
Especially doing the work that you do.
Exactly.
I mean, that's hard, you know.
It is very hard, it's challenging, and the staff are dedicated, and we try our best as management to see how we can involve and keep them engaged. And with that being said, we do have the Civil Service Engagement Survey, which has been being done annually, I think, since 2017. And in 2018, the Needs Assessment Unit scored in the top 5 departments for 4 of the 9 items and top 10 for one of the other 9 items. So that's quite an accomplishment considering the type of department that we're in. I want to say we're definitely in the top 10 departments. I'm not sure exactly where we fall, but that's quite commendable considering the amount of departments the government have.
Well, out of 9 areas, we scored within the top 10 percentile in 5 areas. So definitely within the top 10, I would say, by that estimation for sure. Now, just to jump back a little bit to what I said, I'm glad you raised the point as well, Dwayne, in regards to the type of work that we do, the difficulty of getting those reports, because I think something that people don't always appreciate is the fact that when you come for welfare, not everyone walks away with a positive answer. Sometimes we have to say no to some people for various different reasons. They don't qualify, whatever the case may be. And to still be able to score such a high percentage within our customer service, you're telling people no, and there's still in some cases they still walk away happy, you know?
But even those that you tell yes, you know, you can only help to the extent you can help.
Correct.
And, you know, they get something, but it isn't all that they want, expectation, whatever it is. People still be...
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you go to the restaurant and... this is all the steak you give me? You know, I wanted a 50,000 pounder. You want to give me 5 ounces? As it is, right?
It is. And even with the no's, we don't just turn people away blind. We always give them some sort of a referral or provide some additional information for them. Even if we can't assist, we point them in the best direction that we can. So a no isn't just no and go away. A no is usually no, we can't, but this is what might be possible for you. So that's the extra dedication the staff actually provides.
Yeah, man, but I trust that people appreciate that. You know, if we do, we support, we encourage, we hold accountable, but we're prepared to be responsible. We're in this together, you know. I mean, you ever see a guy sail a catboat and run by the board at the same time? It don't work, you know. It takes 2.
It does.
At least.
Now, Mr. Mara touched on engagement, and she also touched on the dedication of the staff. And I think what's really commendable about them is that the very definition of their job is to do community service.
Yes.
But it's still not enough for them. They want to feel like they are contributing outside of the constraints of a job description. And there are times when they come to management and they'll say, you know, I had this client and I really want to do something for him. How about we get together as a staff? And something as simple as I went on a home visit, it was really hot. Let's put together as a staff and buy him a fan. As basic as that. Each year we try to do a Christmas drive. We always have persons donate to us, but we also within ourselves as well, we pick up a collection. Everyone donates. We identify some of our clients that we know of as well, and we'll purchase a gift. We maybe it's food. We put something together for them so they can have a better Christmas. We arrange for Santa to come in as well at Christmas time, and we get candies and we get gifts. So they donate gifts, the ones that we put together as well, and we'll have the kids come in and Santa will be there. He'll take pictures with the families, and he'll give out candy, he'll give out the gifts, just something that's nice for the end of the year for the children, and to encourage the family togetherness, because that's really important in our eyes as well. So we try to really impart that to our clients in any way that we possibly can. We've undertaken other community service
Initiatives,
that's the word. Thank you. Other initiatives such as we've went to a client home before to assist with cleaning up. There's elderly persons in the home, persons with physical limitations. And it was some work that was needed. And so we went in, and what was really beautiful about that experience was that as we were working, there were other family members who came in as well. And that's the whole idea, because it's not about us just doing something for you. It's about us teaching you to do it for yourself. And the fact that they jumped in with us and we're doing the work side by side, I think that was a good depiction of what happens at the NAU. It's the workers working alongside the clients for the community, for the society, and that was a beautiful experience for everyone. We've visited the Pines before, spent time with the elderly. Mind you, when we have our professional retreats, these are things that we do as a part of our retreat. We try to find ways, okay, let's see what we can do to give back, not just looking to serve self, but how can we continue to give back to the community. And beautiful from the staff perspective, really awesome. We participate in the DG 5K run. We always support the Feed Our Future, which is a non-for-profit that we work very closely with. They provide school lunches, and every year they do fundraisers, and we try to support them in that as best as we can.
100% of our staff usually support each year for both the DG run, which also donates to charities, and also for the Feed Our Future. And this, just if I could take over for 2
For sure.
seconds. No, and this year we actually did, for the first time, the Autism Week.
Second time. The donation. Yeah, you're right.
Down syndrome is the socks. Last year we did Rock Your Socks, which is for Down syndrome. And we've done that 2 years in a row with full participation from the staff. And then Matthew, of course, does his lovely videos and photos. And then also for Autism Week, the staff actually did a collection and presented to the committee for Autism Week. So the staff, they're very, very dedicated. We ended... I don't think this is the last thing we've done, but one of the major things we did this year too is Kindness Week. The deputy governor actually implemented for the first time, and we actually not only did things for one another as civil servants, but we also extended to our clients, and we were able to do words of inspiration. One of our staff members, Shelda, actually got some cards with little scriptures and encouragement on them. She bought out of her pocket, her funding. We got candy bars and gave out, and then we also had roses for the ladies, and it was very touching because not only were the staff so excited to do good for our clients, as we always do, but many of our clients, some even cried. Just that little small token of kindness. So the staff, they're always trying to find creative ways for us to give back.
Yeah, man. You lead by example. Now, we want you guys to come on as often as you can. We look forward to continuing. And closing thoughts for Mr. Hilton?
Just want to say that, the work that we do is not an easy job, not just because they're dealing with disgruntled clients. Sometimes you're dealing with mental health clients, and that can be difficult to accomplish your job as well, right? But also because understand that day in, day out, our workers are dealing with people at their worst state, and that affects you emotionally, that affects you mentally, and you have to take that home with you and find out how to figure that out. And it's not easy to see. Every day of your life, you're looking at persons who are suffering, that impacts you, and yet you still see this level of delivery, this level of dedication to say, I still want to do more. There's still more that I want to do. I'm going to put in more hours than I need to put in. I'm going to find different initiatives that I can do to help better my community. And that just shows a different level and class of person. And I really appreciate the work that they do. And just invite the public to, if you ever see an NAU worker or have an opportunity to, just remember what they're going through and give them some words of encouragement.
NAU week. That's what we form next.
And that would be great. And thank you, Matthew. And again, like I said, we just really want to thank the staff, and we want to encourage them to keep doing what they're doing. It can be a thankless job. A lot of times, but we do get many thank yous behind the scenes. And for all those clients out there, if your officer is doing an exceptional job, like Matthew said, please do let them know that they are doing an exceptional job. And we really appreciate what we're doing with helping our people in the community to make sure that our most vulnerable are cared for. And thank you again, Dwayne, for having us.
It's truly an honor. You guys have a very enjoyable, safe, productive week. Looking forward to engaging with you some more. To our listeners, when we come back from the news break, why don't you join us? We'll see where it takes us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio K-Man. Headlines. Radio K-Man's newsroom. Headlines. These are the biggest stories right now.
Organizers of next month's 60 Acts of Service nationwide event are renewing their call for you to help them set up fun, low-cost service projects for the community. Celebrate Cayman Deputy Executive Chair Marzita Bodden says they're giving civic-minded individuals a chance to give back to their community, adding this campaign has two phases. The first for people to submit their project ideas through the Celebrate Cayman website. The next phase invites residents and visitors to sign up to participate in those projects. The event is taking place June 1st and 2nd. Log on to celebratecayman.ky for more. In news elsewhere, a British soldier has died in Malawi during counter-poaching operations, the Ministry of Defense has said. Matthew Talbot, 22, of the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards, was on a patrol on May 5th when he was killed by an elephant. His commanding officer described Guardsman Talbot as determined and big-hearted. Defense Secretary Penny Mordaunt said he served with great courage and professionalism and was carrying out vital counter-poaching work. The UK will have to fight European elections despite hopes from the government a Brexit deal would be done by then, says the PM's de facto deputy. The vote is due on May 23rd, but Theresa May said the UK would not have to take part if MPs agreed a Brexit plan first. The UK was due to leave the EU on March 29th, but as no deal was agreed by Parliament, the EU extended the deadline to October 1st. Britain's Prince Charles and his wife Camilla embarked on a visit to Germany on Tuesday, a 4-day charm offensive during which he will stress the two European countries' close ties. Charles' arrival in Berlin came a day after his younger son, Prince Harry, announced that he and his wife Meghan have had their first child, a healthy boy. German president presented Charles with a teddy bear for his new grandson after the two met for talks. Those are your latest updates here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanta Gallego.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
At Powerhouse Gym, where you feel like home in a multicultural energy environment for all. They are dedicated to helping you achieve your fitness goals. Whether you have decided to get in shape, train for a specific sport, boost your energy levels, or even look your best for a special day. With a variety of sports options, group fitness classes, CrossFit outdoor gym. They provide personal trainers and equipment. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center, offers a complete health and recreational environment for the only sports and recreational facility of its kind in the Cayman Islands. For more information, call 946-5464. Email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. Powerhouse Gym, King Sports Center. Serious results, period.
I love you, Mom. Mother's Day is right around the corner. Treat the moms in your life to something special with elegant floral arrangements and gifts from Celebrations.
Thank you, Mom.
Enter to win a Best Mom Ever brunch pack for Mom by spending $150 or more on any Mother's Day design. Celebrations makes gift-giving easy with beautiful floral arrangements tailored to every taste. Express your sweetest sentiments and make her day special. Offering island-wide delivery and extended Mother's Day hours. Open Sunday, May 12th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Order online at celebrationsgifts.com or visit our new location at 64 Kingbird Drive, Industrial Park.
My mother, I love you.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Did you know protecting Cayman's environment has always been at the forefront of plans for the cruise berthing facility? Government commissioned an environmental impact assessment at the start of the project, which confirmed there will be no damage to 7 Mile Beach.
Looking forward, looking bright.
Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. 949-8037. or 9496990. It's going to be open line in the sense that we're, invited along Mr. Myra Rankin to keep our company. Not to rile you up, as they say, but to get the public thinking and talking and engaged and informed and involved. And, Mario, as I welcome you, I share with you a conversation that took place. Today's only Tuesday. And I'll be honest with you, it feels like it's a Thursday in terms of how the week has transpired so far. So last evening, I had an opportunity. I didn't realize it was going to be last night. I was going to be next week. That's how fast time was going, right? And the individuals were sharing the things that happen in their society, the increase in crime, the acceptance by the populace. Oh, well, that's just the price of progress. The increase in cost, to government and for government, the little things that are happening, and the changes. So just off the bat, just two things of the many. One was this redevelopment, as I would sort of interpret it, of the public beach, where we're putting down, I guess, cabanas for vendors and the like,
right,
and boardwalks and what have you. I may share what some said. Well, some were supportive, some were like, well, what is that? How is that going to work out?
And that's where I have issue, because that's one of the few things that we are actually doing for Caymanians. You understand?
Okay.
So we've taken and we've built all of these different things that don't resemble the historic heritage that we have, and we've done it for every other nationality and person. And then the minute that we decide to do something for Caymanians only, then everybody got an issue with it.
But how, to what extent? And I hear what you're saying, and perhaps you can help us, because you get informed, right? And you're willing to deliberately seek out information to share with people so people know. But we're not doing that. We don't know what's happening in their country.
Well, I mean, for instance, would you rather them stay down there and have this third world appearance vending down there, or would you rather put a proper structure in place with uniforms and guidelines and requirements and all these different things, and they pay their certain fees every year? So at the end of the day, we need to stop. We need to stop being too emotional about certain things. Whenever we do anything for Caymanians, it's this big hoopla and why we're doing this and why we're doing that. Look, we've transformed the Cayman Islands into something for everybody else except ourselves.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you share that, because in this discussion, it was very evident that either, again, this is not to be disparaging or speak out of school, those of us that were talking either ill-informed or misinformed as to how this thing is going to be, what it's going to be, how do you access it, what is the outcome, and the like. One individual did repeat, like so many times, one, we don't share information in a timely manner, and everything seems to be presented in a way that has a political, quote-unquote, win.
Well, it's a political gauged project, and if we thought that it was anything different, then we are the naive and gullible ones, because you and I both know that politicians work for political emblems in order to be re-elected. Hence the reason why you see all these bizarre movements in terms of projects and the timing and why we're doing it and all these other stuff. So if we want to call a spade, let's just call it a spade, And if we want to talk about solutions, let's just talk merely and purely about solutions today. Let's just do that. And let's see if the government would even take any of those on board because of the messenger.
All right. Well, that actually fits in, and not because we're unstructured, but because I think conversation should have a natural flow. So this is no scripted sort of thing, right? But that fits right into the second point. The idea that as a country to date, everything, you're not pointing to one politician or one political group and the like, seems to either one, be sort of pandering depending on which way the wind blowing, according to what we shared with me last night, or two, cost to the country more than it should, improperly funded, accounted for, and the like. And without the one woman in particular, without a vision to say, okay, where is this thing going to be 50 years?
Exactly. And how do we plan?
And how do we plan?
Well, here's what we do know. We know what money is being derived from financial industry, and we know what money is being generated from the tourism industry. We know what the key driving factors of both industries are. We know what we have to do in order to ensure that those things continue, not only to maintain, but to grow, right? So we know those things. All right. Then we know who are benefiting from those two pillars in its entirety, because you got the ESO website that clearly lines out all the different areas and revenues and whatnot are being generated. So for the life of me, I'm confused as to why the elected government, who has the mandate of the people, because the mandate is that we elected you based on what you've told us. So why is it that the government has failed of extracting the people's share of those industries in order to pay for social welfare, education, and healthcare, and all these different things that are essential to the survival and the continuity of Caymanians? But yet, what we see, you just had on members from the Needs Assessment Unit, and we understand that yes, we have a social problem. We have people who are in need, and that department is required, and it is something that we should have. So why are they not properly funded? Why are they not priority on the list? Now, again, you know why? Because they're taking care of our people. But I bet you if that was a department that was taking care of people who are inward bound to this island, they would be overfunded.
You sure it went on a discussion last night?
So I have major issues as to why we kick our people to the corner and give them just enough so that we can have a conversation about why we only getting that little break off. But the reality is that, okay, now we look at the airport, for instance, and I only use that because it's in today's paper, front page. And they have a 2032 overall master plan. Okay? 2032, not a long time away, because next year is 2020. So 12 years from that is 2032. So why is it that now we just redeveloped the airport at the tune of $65-70 million?
Reported.
Well, I'm just speaking of numbers. I'm speaking about Mario theory. This is numbers that reported.
That's saying reported.
Right.
Yeah.
So now that we see those numbers are here, and then all of a sudden we had this spike in the first quarter of 2019 on stayover passengers, which we've been saying the whole time. Once you build accommodations, once we maintain a prestigious and good experience, people are going to keep coming to our shores because it's unique, it's safe, and the people are friendly, right? Those are the draws. Yes, I identified that there were some major disasters in the Eastern Caribbean where may have been a large part of the contribution to the increase in numbers, and we understand that as well. But why are we as planners and people who are head of departments are to assume that that's the problem? We should focus on what our key product is, what drives our product, the quality of our product, and we should move forward based on that. So now here we have a record-breaking quarter. And now we got to sit back and revisit some of the mechanisms within that master plan to see whether or not we're going to have to advance in the next 5 to 10 years and build a sub-terminal which now can accommodate. Now, come on now. Listen, based on the data and the experiences, we knew for sure that the current terminal that we just spent this $65-70 million was not going to be adequate enough. That if we had maintained that uniqueness and that quality of our destination, that it would have increased passengers. Right. It would have increased. Once we have the capacity, it would take place. And now we're going to sell some sore idea that we might have to kick it in the next 5 years. But you know what might means? Might means that in 2022, 2021, 2020, that they're going to engage and announce. You know why? Because it politically aligns with the next election. So it gives strong political mileage to the driving forces behind it, which is the current administration.
Right. I'll share this with you because sometimes, as was said to me last evening, too many of us, not just those who are in a position of making decisions and the like, but those of us who are even the ones talking a lot, we don't spend enough time listening, right? So I give you two things. I wrote them down. I brought them down with the intent of asking the general populace. The Master Ground Transportation Plan and which has been around forever. Yeah, the airport. So one lady last evening shared that she went to Clifton, and sometime shortly before, this road from Walker's Road is going to be accessible to going to the track, which was just used for that.
They just made that announcement, I think.
Right. So she found out about that as being part of the thing. What she found was, and I wish I had it recorded, said the disparaging way that it was reported in the media, dirt road for Clifton, something to that effect. Now, for us, a dirt road is a really, really, kind of a negative connotation, right? But sorry to cut you, right?
No.
The idea that this Master Ground Transportation Plan had in it a proposal for what we're now doing, whatever it's going to cost then, it's going to cost now, it's going to cost more, it's going to cost. Right? And to be told, from what she says, that for instance, if the road was going in this direction, as long as it went in this direction, it would be great. But because it won't accommodate this one or that one or affect this person's land, you can't go that way. It has to go this way.
Well,
why?
Well, listen, we all know what the magical tricks of politics has produced in our country. There's a lot of things that has happened that we may think is coincidence, but there's no coincidence. A lot of these things were done on purpose, and we know that, and we can have that discussion until the end of time, because we can go as far back as the 40s and find things that may be questionable. But what we need to start looking at is why in the world that we have a government that only plans 15 to 20 years down the road when we're doing any capital project.
If that far.
And this is where I have huge issues with. You know why? Because every time that we revisit those infrastructure upgrades from a capital standpoint, we end up spending hundreds of millions of dollars. So why is it that we don't have a proper strategic plan that gauges from 50 to 100 years? Because if you're saying that we only plan to live for the next 20 years, because that's where we're billing to, then it creates that idea in my mind that we're not proper planners, and we don't understand the concept of being a properly developed island. And we don't want to be that way, because everything is such short-lived, because it's all centered around the political timing of elections, and that is where we have the fundamental breakdown in this country. And now that we have that evolution of educated people who have gone off and gotten tertiary education and been exposed to different environments and understand different things, and we come back now and we start asking the question, then politicians are caught on one foot and backtracking because they didn't realize that somebody could ask a reasonable, sensible, warranted question, because they can't answer it. They're so used to getting away with it for so long that it becomes a subliminal propaganda that they all buy into and think that that's the way that they're going to continue. But I make a statement here that there's been a mental paradigm shift. Now it's time to put the physical side of it in effect, where people are going to actually get out and do something about it and ensure that moving forward, that we don't take, when we get to that Y in the road, that as opposed to billing it, we just go straight and understand that we have to have that change and draw that line.
All right, in the studio with us, good company of Mario Rankin. The phone lines are open if you want to share. Now, I share sort of extracts from the discussion with the people last evening. Specifically, I was invited, here's some things that we think are important to the country and helping to inform. They keep saying I'm a part of the media. Now, with respect, not a journalist, so I don't take that on. Just like I say to people, I love to cook, I love to eat even more, but I'm not a chef. I can go into the kitchen and enjoy what I prepare. But the other thing that they said is like the airport. She said just like the notion with the master ground transportation plan and the construction of the roads, the idea of the airport. Two things she said struck. One, when the current project was being proposed, she says, how did she word it? Anyway, she recalls reading somewhere that within 10 years, this is probably going to be an outdated facility, right? So this is currently being said. But she says if you harken back to the early 90s when there was some discussion with the government of the day at that time, that we need a new airport, that we should be looking at further out. Now, she said Frankstown, I think.
Different destination,
right?
A different
Move it
place.
further that way.
Right.
For whatever reason, that wasn't acceptable to, the people and the players at the time. But what if we had done that? And where, I guess her point was asking the question, when are we going to be putting the country's interests and needs first? When is the priority?
Exactly.
And she said politics with a small p, not just elected politics and the politicians, but all of us get in now at expense of tomorrow.
Well, the thing is that until we, as a people, remove certain portfolios from the ministries, right? Like education, for instance.
Okay.
Right? Why have we allowed education to be a political football for as long as we have? Right? No minister, no politician in the world should have control of education. You know why? Because they're only going to do what they need to do in order to get reelected, in terms of providing the proper system and the funding and all these different things for education. And we need to remove it and put it into a necessary body that has the interests of education at heart, that is allowed to get the funding needed, right? The problem that we have in here now is that we've used all of the fundamental things that creates the environment that we live in, be portfolios in different ministries, and then we allocate those responsibilities within the civil servants in those ministries,
right,
who are the real driving force behind a lot of these policies and a lot of the things that happen, and we have zero accountability when it comes to people on those levels. Because, like, for instance, we have the airport overspend. Chairman of the board still sitting there. getting a big salary. Everybody's still sitting there. No heads have rolled over there. And that's just one case. And I only speak about that one because it's recent and it's now current and it's ongoing. You know, we can say in the newspaper that Prince Charles opened the airport that wasn't finished. Mm-hmm. You understand? So these are all of the smoke and mirrors that we're providing to our people and expecting them to just absorb them.
So let me ask, again, publicly, and certainly, given that you said just focus on solutions.
Right.
So when I was leaving the discussion last evening, I thought about it after, and I thought, I hope I didn't say it in such a way that it came across as disrespectful or whichever, right? And for many reasons. But whether it was the 1990s and the 1940s, we can go back to the proceedings of the Legislative Assembly.
Right.
We see historical records at the National Archive where Commissioner Gerard said things about land ownership. So we see where, I'll use the word, maybe we've made mistakes or missteps. We didn't do something, or we didn't do it the way we should have done it. Now that we look back, they say hindsight is 20/20.
Mm-hmm.
We can't unring the bell. We can't undo what has been done. The hole that was dug and now is a quarry, maybe we can fill it in, maybe we can't. So where we failed, right? If for argument's sake, we had a road corridor, we allowed to fall away, and now it's a massive development there, we can't buy it and go
right.
through. Where we fail to preserve these things and we can't undo, what can we now take the lessons that we didn't do it, but can we do something now to make sure that we don't repeat the same mistakes and make it better?
Okay. Here's what I'll say in that, and I'll give you an example, again, about something that's current and relevant of the time.
Right.
In the same article about the airport today, if you go to page 7 of the newspaper, paragraph 2, you'll see where the head of the CIA, Mr. Anderson, stated that one of the reasons why the government couldn't digest the entire project was because of the constraints that the government had on the borrowings of monies of the FFR. So therefore, they had to do the incremental stages. Okay? Now, think about this for a second. Our airport is the essential part of our stayover product, okay, which is responsible for 80% of the revenue generated from tourism. Now, let's think about this for a second. This is a very interesting and a very good point. So that the head of the CIA understands what the constraints were and what their ability was based on the FFR and the spending ability and the borrowing ability of the government. So they couldn't put in the full scope of the project that they have stretched out through 2032, right? He understands that, and we all understand it because that was in the public domain. No. That same government is now embarking in a public-private relationship in order to build a cruise port that is 3 times more expensive than the airport. 3 times, not 1 time, 3 times. Okay, more expensive than the airport, which brings in 80% of the revenue of our tourism product. Now, you tell me, Sterling, how does that make any economical sense? I want all the accountants out there to crunch those numbers. 80% come from stayover. We can't borrow in it. We can't borrow $100 million to do the whole master plan of the airport, but we're going to embark on building a port for $300 million. And these are the issues that we should be talking about. And the solution to that is this. We understand that we need to extend the runway for 777 jets. We understand that there's transatlantic air traffic that's flying over our head every day in the tune of thousands of flights that could be coming into Cayman. We understand that the revenue generated from that is 5 times more than what is generated from the passengers that come on cruise. Now, I just give you one small scenario before you touch the brake, right? Just so that people understand what I'm trying to say. All right. Let's just say your body is your temple, right? And if somebody came to you and said, Sterling, I could extend your life if you gave me a finger by 10 years. Now, after that 10 years come, they can come back for another finger. Now, at what point do you draw the line? Because at some point, if you don't draw the line, you're going to end up with 0. So the same thing that you were trying to extend will be the same thing that you would cut short because you have exhausted your resources. And I look at Cayman in the same way. So how much, because I've heard people use the argument, well, there's only one part of the island that we're going to sacrifice. Okay, fine. So if we're going to sacrifice an integral part and a historic part of our dive industry in the Georgetown Harbor, right? And then those numbers come in, and that's just to increase our head count so we can generate more tax per head, right? And presumably more jobs, according to them. We haven't seen those jobs yet. And where do we draw the line when those funds are no longer efficient? to pay for the things that we call the necessities of life. What happens then when we have to destroy another area? Where I ask the question, where do we draw the line? When do we stop? When we completely destroyed everything that draws everybody in that industry? So we need to be very rational and understand that if we're going to embark on something, that it has to be in the best interest of not only the people, but the island and its environment as well, because those are the things that work hand in hand.
All right. Mario, as usual, you paint a very vivid picture, great imagery. Let's pause and take a break. When you come back, phone lines are open. And as I say, Susan is standing by, 949-8037 or 949-6990. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Moms everywhere, Advance Automotive salutes you. We know you have the hardest job in the world, so we want to introduce you to the 2019 Chevrolet Traverse, the stylish 7 or 8-seater SUV, voted Best Family Car 2018. Partnering with Saxon, take advantage of our new 1-2-3 offer. 1 year free insurance, 2 years free servicing, and 3 years free licensing, freeing up more cash to pamper yourself this Mother's Day. Moms everywhere, you rock. Visit the showroom on Owen Roberts Drive or visit AdvancedChevrolet.com to start enjoying your new Traverse. Who runs the world? Mums.
Are you seeking information on the proper process to start constructing your home or development? Do you know how to apply for a building permit and inspection? Are you up to date with current building codes? May is Building Safety Month, and the Department of Planning has a number of events to help you stay up to date with the building and planning process. To learn more about Building Safety Month and the training, information sessions, and demos offered for free to the public, visit planning.ky.
Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for the 7 a.m. news, brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. In the studio, the excellent company of Mario Rankin. MDR. Mario D. Rankin, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Got it, man.
Yeah.
And I would almost try to joke with you, but I say leave it alone for now. Mario, I say this publicly, not so much in jest, but hopefully by your willingness to accept the invite to come and sit, keep my company and share your thoughts. It doesn't create a lot of problems for you or those around you. I hope it encourages more of us, whether we agree with you, whether we take a different view, to be willing to share our views publicly, to share our views from an informed perspective, and not to be so adamant and dogmatic, but to at least have some passion and conviction so that we can engage in an informed, meaningful discourse. So
right.
Thank you for willingly sharing with us, man.
No, anytime, and I don't have an issue with doing it because obviously, we all have that fear of victimization, but I think I've used up all of my points in that one, so I'm done. And not much more they can do to me.
Right. I say that because last evening I accepted the invite, sit for a little bit to chat with certain individuals, and when I looked at who were assembled and the nature of it, it almost looked like one of those business meetings with an agenda, as it were. And the objective was to say, okay, here are some things that we think are important. Share with you. You host a talk show, and we'll give you. So here's some information.
Right.
The information was historical record. I didn't see anything that said top secret or seemed to even be earth-shattering. Seems the things that have already been out there and documented. And I thought I had to ask two people, why don't you accept an invite to come on the show and be a guest? Your expertise in finance or in these other areas would be helpful. Here is John Ebanks talking about thing. Here is John Smith talking about this thing, and we have this discussion. And they refuse.
You know why? Because I again, victimization is one of those things, and obviously a lot of those people are tailored to what the system looks like. And a lot of people are afraid to talk about the raw truth of it all, because I'm not gonna come in here and I'm not gonna prop up anything and try to call it something that it's not. Because at the end of the day, who is it we're doing all this for, right? And if we have to keep avoiding or being apologetic about the things that we need to put in place in order to ensure the continuity and the sustainability of Caymanians, then we'll never get it done. So I quite honestly, I would rather not hear somebody who's going to come from a politically correct position because they're afraid of certain entities or certain forces out there that might crack the proverbial whip on them.
Yeah.
So unless it's somebody who's willing to come in here and share the raw truth and opinion about something, I'd rather read Archie comic book.
I smile because, anyway, you know what? It's important. I think
Because-
people recognize it, right? Let me share this with you.
Yeah.
So last evening, one individual shared as an example, and I didn't write it down. I don't have it for me. Presumably, has taken government's budgets for a number of years. I don't recall if it was the last 10 years or something, but it's been a number of years over a couple of administrations, and presumably has managed to go through it and says from this date to this date, this is the amount of money according to the budget that has been spent on travel and entertainment, according to the subheads that are like, included was the office of the governor, the other officials, and the like. So the total money spent on, I think they call it something, travel and entertainment, and sum that up, and then looked at the cost for certain services, the social services, as it was. And I almost want to repeat what I thought I was told. The tens of millions of dollars.
Oh boy!
And I say, well, if we understand that now, this is not in 1 year. This is not by one minister or one politician. This is just a collected sum, added up. You know, the cumulative total of these amounts over, and it's been a number of administrations. And they said, look at that money. That's a lot of money. Tens of millions. You know, I think that somebody there would probably know exactly how much it is. They've got an idea.
Right. Well,
it was shocking.
And I understand totally on where the concerns come from. But what we have to be very careful of is that, yes, there are going to be times where our government have to travel. Right. There's going to be times that they're going to have to spend extra dollars in order to do certain things, and I have no problem with that. Right. But when it's something that when we start running the numbers and it's something that has happened that we need to bring into question, then we need to have people held accountable. Like when we find something wrong that somebody abused, heads go roll. And that is the attitude we have to have going forward. You know why? Because that sends out a clear message to the incoming individuals who are going to be in a similar position as representatives of our island and our people. So we got to have zero tolerance when it comes to people abusing the system.
Okay, let me put it in this context, and I believe it was last evening again. But it wasn't the first time. If it wasn't last evening, it's been many times recently. A comparison was made with Singapore from the perspective of its approach to...
But they got zero tolerance over there.
Yeah.
Why do you think that their corruption level is like almost zero?
Right. To corruption.
They put people in jail.
Yeah. And even the perception of corruption is almost non-existent in terms of, you know, if I say to you, let's go have, lunch, and there's even a semblance of the relationship looking corrupt, that isn't tolerated, presumably, right? That is how serious they are. Don't live there, don't work there, I don't know. But it is part and parcel of the country's sort of psyche.
Right.
And so that level of corruption is almost non-existent. Could we get there as a country?
Well, here's why I have a concern. I can only speak from my personal experience on certain things when we talk about corruption and accountability and all those things, right? So we got persons like Mr. Eric Bush, right, who broke protocol, and yet we promote him. We put him up on this grand stage and said that he's God Almighty. But again, now had that been somebody on the lower level of the civil service, they would have been suspended probably with full pay. Then they probably would have been let go because we've seen that happen. And I speak names because I could back up what I say. Understand? I have a bundle from the court where they tried to prosecute me on that immigration case where he broke protocol as chief officer. Okay? But yet, all of a sudden, he goes off and represent the island in the UK. He did a shitty job doing it too. But all of a sudden now, he
It's not Rooster now. So,
my apologies.
Yeah. Susan might start both of us, so be careful.
But listen, for that term, I apologize.
Yeah.
That slipped out.
Yeah.
And I apologize to the listening public. I really do.
No, it's not. It's not characteristic of you.
Right, it is.
But before you go, this is one of the reasons why a lot of Caymanians they get so passionate and they say, and I come on because
Right. Well, at the end of the day, I do my best to constrain myself, and the only reason why it gets to certain points because when you're passionate about something and you feel it, and this has nothing to do with that individual. That individual name could have been John Brown, Joe Brown, Jean Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've broken that protocol, but yet you seem to have upward mobility after you do that, you have to ask yourself the question: is that the environment you have to be working? Is that the type of things that you got to do in order to move up the ladder? Is to do unscrupulous things. So I don't get it. So if we're gonna put things in place that ensure that there's accountability held at a high standard, that we need to see these things happen. All these people who have abused the system, who have taken advantage of the system, we need to hold them accountable. But we don't see that, and that creates a landscape for those people who are coming in behind them to feel as if that's the norm, that's the things that you got to do in order to get by, and we need to stop that. Too many Caymanians are suffering. We talk about traveling and spending. Again, I said that I think that we need to do traveling. We need to make sure that we represent Cayman in the best way, and I don't have an issue with the government doing that. But when it comes to them abusing it, we find out about these abuses, but nothing happens. It goes quietly because we don't want to make people think that we're not an organized or being in a proper position. So
let's take this caller. Ready?
Absolutely.
Myra Rankin sits with us. Passionate.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm hanging in, giving God thanks. How are you guys?
Blessed and thankful, and thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, what I'm calling about was the need assessment before Mario came on.
They were on there.
Yeah. I'm just letting you know where Matthew is from. He's not a Caymanian, he's a Jamaican. And the one that is up there, that is the highest up there, is a Jamaican also. So these young folk...
Yes. Sorry, yes, ma'am? Hello?
Being married by these Jamaicans, and they're giving them place to live, that they can take in the Jamaicans to live with them. Mario, you keep up the good work, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, I do apologize for the call. I missed some of what was shared, but if I may just ask the question this way. With the growing population and the integration of people and intermarriage and stuff, we're going to see, perhaps, if we're not careful, a growing divide if we don't find ways to be more inclusive and more, conciliatory as it is, huh?
No. All right, so last evening I went to this meeting, Prospect Community Group at the Seafarers Hall. And the CPR panel was on. We were just trying to share information, trying to clarify what the petition is meant for and whatnot. And then you had a few questions from individuals within the community hall. Obviously, that committee is made up of the elected members of that area, which would be the Honorable Premier and Austin Harris. And what was funny is that one of the questions was asked by one of the members about the environment around the cruise berthing facilities, and that he had been to many ports and whatnot. I won't call his name because it wouldn't be fair to him because he's not here to defend himself.
Right.
But I will say this. I will say that the question that he asked, I thought, was a good question, but he asked if we, as CPR, as a group, did any studies on these other ports to see what type of environmental damage was done. And I thought that was a very weird question, because why would CPR have in their possession environmental reports done on every jurisdiction that has cruise berthing in the Caribbean? We got $8-10 million laying around to go do this, to prove to the government something that has already been proved in those existing ports. Well, just for his enlightenment, every single one of those cruise berthing ports in and around those areas, all of the coral and marine life is uninhabitable. You cannot go; it's all dead.
It's interesting you mentioned the whole idea of the cruise port, the airport. It is not, but let's use the cruise port. I've had a couple of individuals who, as I said to two of them specifically, right, very directly, I look to them for leadership and guidance, for advice, for counsel, for information, for instruction, because of who they are. These are people who are much older, people who have much more experience, expertise, who have seemingly much more wealth. So these are people who I think could be very influential, who to my knowledge are very influential, but they don't say anything publicly, right?
Right.
So I went to one and I asked a question about the cruise. Could you tell me more information? Very confidential, very proudly. And they listed out a series of questions that they themselves, wasn't unsure of. So they couldn't give me any advice. I thought, wow, you imagine a child going to a parent and asking information the parent doesn't have. What would a parent do? give the child false information, tell the child go off, find themselves, ignore it.
Right.
And then when I asked, well, what are you going to do? They said, well, just shrug their shoulders. And I thought, wow, that is telling of our people. Is it an unwillingness? Is it a fear?
Right.
Is it? I really don't know. But Ms. Susan reminds us we got a break, we got Mario, we got a call, and we don't have that. But when we come back, we will go through our phones. Please stay on the line.
Business owners, managers, and marketers interested in learning how digital and social media marketing can help grow your business? Join Yellow Media Group Monday, May 27th at Yellow Digicon and unleash your company's digital potential. Learn from international digital marketing and social media experts, including speakers from Google and Matchcraft, plus a Fortune 500 digital marketing strategist. Complimentary registration for Yellow Media Group customers. Register now at digiconcayman.com or findyellow.com. Presented by Yellow Media Group in partnership with Google.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen, and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger licking good.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by
Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news.
Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today in the studio, the excellent company of Mr. Mario Rankin. And I say it's open line, enhanced. Open line 2.0, Mario Rankin in the house. Mr. Rankin, Susan reminds us we have a caller joining us.
Let's go to the calls.
Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon to your guest.
Good afternoon. You know the song that I was thinking as I heard your voice, that third world song, Reggae Ambassador, Mr. Ambassador. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, first, Dwayne, this issue of the board and the people who, both sides, who support the board and who don't support the board. The last time they was in your program, and they like when I was speaking about the tendering, they jump all fighting, defending, like they are working. So I did some research and I find some interesting stuff, and some people send me some videos and some documents, and I did research in those who working in the issue of doing the referendum. So I find some, they are for the environment, they are honest people, their attention for the environment. And I find some working colleagues, or whatever I call them, working with companies or close relative or close friends to the people who doing the tendering. And I find also that some people are working because they are getting money and they are benefiting from this promotion of or fighting against the poor. Call it whatever you want. Some people go in the media, fight with the board, and
Right.
they're benefiting also for money.
As you go on, could I ask you, when it comes to the notion of having a referendum by the people to say whether they're in favor of the port or not in favor of the notion of a referendum for the port, what is your view? Would you be in favor of such an issue being put to referendum, or are you opposed to it?
Dwayne, look, I am a person. I know what is going on. It is clear. The picture now is very clear to me. It's two families. One family.
Hang on, sorry. It could be 15 families. It could be the line of Judah, But if you're not following it, the question I'm asking is, if there was a are you in favor of there being a referendum to decide the will of the people relative to the port, or do you think that should be something for the elected government to do? Maybe we should just leave it to the private sector. What is your view? Should that be an issue for referendum?
I did say that before, Dwayne. I did say that before. I said I am with the people of Cayman. Decided what they want. Really, the people decide.
Right.
Yes.
So yes.
The attention behind campaign from both sides is have money involved, business, colleagues, relatives.
But respectfully, why is it that we get caught up, right, in personalities and we don't hold the people accountable who are in a position to be held accountable? So how are we going to get to, if you're in favor of having a referendum, how are we going to get to that point unless we trigger it?
Caller, if I may ask a question.
Yes.
And I only ask this question in defense of CPR and all of its volunteers and all its people who have dedicated their time. And I'm going to say in their defense, unless you are willing to call names on who you're referring to, I would ask that you refrain from making derogatory statements about people who you don't know and you don't know the details are. Because for you to suggest that the only reason these people are volunteering or being a part of this particular petition for a referendum is because they are family or being paid is a untrue statement. And if you can't back it up with the proper information and with the evidence, I suggest that you stop criticizing those people, because at the end of the day, if we, the people of this country, decides that we want to exercise our democratic right, which allows us in Section 70 of the Constitution, who are you to call us names or liars or thieves or motivated for anything else to criticize us about doing something that is our democratic and constitutional right? Now, you don't have to agree with us, but you're going to have to get used to us, because any national important capital project that the government wants to take on in this country, that we feel that the people of this country don't have the right information, or that project is going to be the detriment of anything in our environment, we will have the right to petition to have a referendum. So I just ask you to please refrain from calling anybody in the CPR group and all its volunteers any names unless you are willing to produce the evidence. Don't come here with speculation about you did some research, because I can assure you sitting on the corner in Georgetown smoking a cigar isn't research, because you heard somebody may have given you that idea, or they're saying, well, why you think this one doing it? Stop running with propaganda. Stop running with rumors. If you can't produce the evidence, my friend, please be quiet.
First, I am not a propaganda person. You know that very well. And I am not getting my information from smoking a cigar.
Show us the evidence then. I beg you. The people of this country would like to see it.
I'd say there's three types of people. And I'm not accusing every member of CPR. There is people who their attention to the environment, they are honest in their work and what they are doing. And I know who they are, these people. And there is people working for money, and I know who they are, those people. And there is people who are related and working and have jobs with the person doing the tendering, I know who they are. And the other side...
So that means they don't have morals because they work with the tendering company? I could say that you're being paid by someone, but I won't say that because I don't know. I would not say anything derogatory about you because I don't know and I don't have the evidence to prove it. So I wouldn't suggest that. I'm just asking you to reciprocate the same to us because there are a lot of people who have dedicated their time, who have families, who are genuinely concerned about our environment and where we're headed. So please, if you have any evidence to prove your statements to back it up, by all means, show it to us. But please, out of respect for those people, I would ask you to refrain. Let's just talk about something else.
Right. So with that in mind, sir, I mean, everybody should be free to express as long as we do so in a responsible way. With respect to the cruise port, the whole issue of the referendum, what is the substantive point you want to make with us? Sir? Okay, he's gone. All right. And I think... whether it's this issue, but this issue in particular seems to be emotive. There seems to be, whether deliberate malicious or whether it's just the nature of some... We want to make things personal and petty.
Right, and we don't benefit anything from somebody speculating that we're only doing this for some financial gain.
All right. Let me give us an example. I'll probably increase on it, maybe I won't. I believe, and I say this publicly, I believe that the people who have fought for freedoms and the right that I have to go to the general election, I value that. I'm anxious to look forward to that day that I qualified to vote, right? So I want to be a part of that process. There's this opportunity to be part of a referendum.
Exactly.
And I signed a petition. Now, does that mean that I'm for or against the port? Because I signed it?
Exactly. And what demonstrations like that do is that it questions the integrity of every demonstration that Caymanians have been a part of for decades. If you look at when Miss Georgette and marched for equal rights for women to vote, it goes all the way back to that. You understand? For someone to call in here and suggest that we are doing it for unscrupulous reasons, I take high offense to that because they are hard-working people in this volunteer group, and these are people with high integrity. And I can assure you that if we were getting the money that he claimed we were getting, we would have better ads, we would have TV ads, we would have just as much or more of what the government is putting out.
Well, let me share this with you. I'm reminded that there was a time, early 70s and even a little bit later, where the general populace, feeling that an issue was of national importance, and they would use today's word, they would demonstrate very, very vociferously about or against this thing, even to the extent that at one point there were attorneys and other prominent people who were here at the time, well known, who wanted to stand in the general elections.
Right.
Maybe they were former government people, administrators, lawyers, what have you. But the populace, the Caymanian electorate in particular, didn't believe that these people would be eligible or should be eligible. This is in the 70s, the early 80s, and the like, not that long ago. And yet the same discussions that happened then are unfolding now. Look at the Foreign Affairs Committee of the UK saying, this service should be in its overseas territories. Well, where's the public's demonstration?
Exactly, and what I want to keep pounding the hammer on, right? And we have to be very careful how we engage in discussion, because we want to make sure that the narrative stays in focus. We have to make sure that the reason why we're doing this is one of integrity and reputable. Now, I read a report in 2013 that was summoned by the government that spoke about all the things and all the issues and all the fundamental problems that we're seeing with the port. So for me to read that report and seeing the concerns that was reached around a consortium of people, 19 people I think it was in this particular report, that stated that a lot of the cruise ships felt as if they would have been at a disadvantage if they had built a cruise pair for the two largest companies, which is Royal Caribbean and Carnival. And a lot of them would have felt, okay, well, if they didn't have access to the port, that they would rather pass by and go to other jurisdictions, simply because they didn't want to be on a crowded port with all their passengers walking off, and then you got to tend on the east side of it. So when we look at all those reports, and NRA with their contribution simply saying, hey, even without the pairs now, the government has already recognized that there have to be infrastructure upgrades such as roads and all these different things because of the increase in number of passengers. So if we're struggling at accommodating infrastructurally 1.2 million to 1.4 a year, how in the world are we going to manage 2.3 without any major infrastructure upgrade? So the port may cost $300 million to build, but nobody's talking about the infrastructure upgrade, which is going to be in the tune of $200 to $300 million in order to accommodate.
So the total cost then is...
So the total cost is going to be north of $500 million.
Right. But this is something that I was sort of shared with me last season again. And I understand why some of the people, even myself, now are being cautious. But just to put it as a simple interpretation, without clearly understanding the design and the project,
right?
How do you know what the final cost or even a probable cost would be? Right? Not just the money that's going to be given up, if it's going to be given up for passenger tax and diverted and like, but the actual physical cost of the structure, the supporting infrastructure, and all those things. And we know?
And you see, the thing is that the government has failed to date in any proposal dating back, however far you want to look back, has never talked about the cost of infrastructure upgrades and who would bear that cost. Now, you and I both know that NRA is an entity of government. It's an authority, but it's a government entity funded by government and all of the services that we have in place in order to generate revenue for our GDP. So if you're telling me then that if we're going to have a candid conversation and we're going to be transparent and everything above board and we're going to have this real conversation on this capital project, then we have to talk about every single aspect of this project in order for us to have any consideration as to whether this is something we need to move forward on. Because we need to draw a line. We need to figure out how many cruise passengers is what we can accommodate comfortably, that they can have that ultimate experience.
The carrying capacity we talk about.
The carrying capacity. So you and I both know is that we can only accommodate a certain amount of people to have that high level of experience that would carry forward. So we need to be very careful what we're doing here.
If you will remind me after we come back from the break, I say young people, not just those who are high school, so to speak. There are a number of teachers who, part of their social studies classes, are having these discussions, part of the civics and the like.
Right.
But also young people who are either, in college, starting or getting ready to graduate, who've expressed concerns about what things are going to cost and how it will affect them when they are, 30, 40, 50 years old, where we are now, right? Okay. When we come back from the break, we want you to be a part of a discussion. The phone lines are open, 949-8037, 949-6990. And you can also WhatsApp 925-3261. If you can't remember the number, call us, we'll tell you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Follow Radio K-Man on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio K-Man.
Radio K-Man.
Radio K-Man's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The Department of Environmental Health steps up its ongoing public education program aimed at increasing residents' awareness about the importance of adequately packaging and handling household garbage through a new radio campaign. The 3-month campaign, with the core message of Keep Your Neighborhood Clean, includes public service announcements. Additionally, DEH officials will make the rounds at local media houses and use informational flyers, video, and social media to promote an awareness of these issues and to foster collaboration throughout this community. For more, check out deh.gov.ky or their Facebook page, DEH Cayman Islands. In news elsewhere, a gunman took 4 hostages in a convenience store on the outskirts of the southern French city of Toulouse on Tuesday, police said. Authorities weren't certain of the hostage taker's identity or what he is demanding. No injuries have been reported. The man seized the hostages at 4:20 Tuesday in the town of Blenague, near Toulouse Airport. According to a national police spokeswoman, local state television France 3 reported that the hostage taker fired 3 shots in the air, is wearing a helmet fitted with a camera, and demanded to speak with the negotiator. Melania Trump celebrated Tuesday's anniversary of her Be Best initiative by announcing its expansion and another international trip to promote it. The First Lady launched Be Best, her first major initiative, a year ago Tuesday, to focus on child well-being, social media use, and drug abuse. She celebrated its anniversary from behind a lectern in the sun-splashed White House Rose Garden with several cabinet secretaries who have worked with her and other guests. Those are your latest updates here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanta Ganyeko.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. In the studio, good company, conversation, and contribution of Mario D. Rankin. Thanks very much for sharing. And as you've said many times, it doesn't mean that what people say they have to accept, they have to agree with. But if we truly have a civilized, healthy democracy, we should be able to be engaged publicly and share what we have to share. And hopefully people will be informed. People will be able to contribute.
Well, what's even more comical about all those people who call in and criticize the CPR and its group of people is that here we have a constitution that was revised in 2009 by the same administration who have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight us for exercising a right that they wrote into the Constitution, Section 70, the right of referendum. They spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight something that they gave us in the Constitution in 2009. So that's like an oxymoron. In my personal opinion.
To ask that question, is it the understanding
like here's your bicycle but you can't ride it?
That money that government, because you're referring, I presume, to the ads that we hear and we see, support the port, those ads.
Absolutely.
Is the understanding that money that's being spent is somehow being taken from the public purse? That's taxpayer money?
Well, where else would they get the money from?
Right.
I mean, if you want to say you got it from an authority, okay, fine. Who owned the authority?
Okay.
We are a service-based society, Sterling. We have no mass import of anything, zero, other than propaganda. Everything that we do here has a service tax attached to it. That's how we generate our GDP. That is the long and short of it. The reason why we got social issues is because we got 24,000 work permits. That creates a social issue in the workforce, in the labor force, right? The reason why we have traffic on the road is because we derive funds from licensing cars and licensing people and all of those things alike. Okay, so if you're going to create if you're going to limit those things to reduce the social streams, then you have to find revenue in order to fill the gap in which is lost from preventing those things. So we can talk about economics all day, but the reality is that the government is only going to make choices based on who funded their campaign, and that's the reality. That's global. That's not unique to us, but for a country that is so small, that have so little of us to take care of, to ensure that we are in a sustainable environment. It's absolutely embarrassing to see that we have people who are homeless, people who are eating out of garbage. On any level is unacceptable because we boast this first world status with third world policies. We boast about how great the economy doing, but yet the poor people are struggling. The people below the poverty line, who used to be above the poverty line, who used to be the middle class, have now become below the poverty line. But yet the government still puts out these big glamorous headlines about how great the economy doing and all these different things. We got to have these conversations. We got to have the dialogue, and we need to start addressing some of these issues. And we need to start by having accountability on the highest level.
With those public discussions, though, and I maybe of a different perspective, different school. I like to see in speech rather than hidden behind something, so people can be held accountable. But when they take place, is it then either A, the people who are making the comments in whatever format are looked at as having some hidden agenda, some ulterior motive, or B, the people that you sort of, let's use the politicians, the elected side of government, you're speaking about the issue, that you beat up on them and they take it personal, and it's not about the principle and the policy. It becomes vitriolic on the person.
All right, let me paint a quick picture to tell you why we should be looking at the government without a serious lens on, okay? In 2011-12, China Harbor was announced to be the person who's going to build our port. The now sitting premier and his administration almost lost their mind. They went, completely crazy. and wanted to put the then premier in jail. They went as far as to have him arrested, went to court, and did all these things to remove him from the public seat, right? As premier. Now here we are, a short 7 years later, and now China Harbor is shortlisted as two of the top bidders in order to build the same port that they went crazy over. But the only fundamental difference in that is that both parties are now married at the hip. They combined forces in the last election, and now they have formed a unity government. And now all of a sudden, China Harbor is this clean, squeaky angel that's flying above our port, getting ready to build this port. And we all know what the issues that China Harbor have. And why is it that they even made the top two, the top three? Why were they even allowed to put in a bid?
But let me ask a question. If any entity, any company, local or regional or international, that is going to bid on a government project, is it then for, in the essence of good governance, for the UK, the FCA or through the office to intervene and say, listen, we can't have you dealing with this thing because, it's not above board, it's whatever it is, right? Why is it then if in the UK isn't intervening if in fact we have allegations or...
Well, I think at this particular point the UK is just waiting for the confirmation whether China Harbor will be the preferred bidder. I'll tell you why. Because you and I both know that the UK have a better relationship with the US than China have with the US or the UK.
Mm-hmm.
We understand the infiltration of Jamaica. We understand the attempt they had in the Bahamas. We understand their global Silk Road initiative, and we now are very aware. If you're paying attention to the region, we are very aware now that Russia has now intervened in Venezuela, and with the support of the Chinese. I was involved with a project in Jamaica in a quarry, and I had an opportunity to meet with some of the ministers down there, and it was very clear that America was trying to get the Chinese out of Jamaica from a strategic standpoint. So there's an area in Jamaica called Vernon Field, which used to be an old military base.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Americans have gone back down there, revitalized it, bought up all the property, and has already broke ground and building a new base there. But that's all in the dawn of the infiltration of China, and because China is a communist country, and that they're very good friends with Russia. So it's a global initiative. So if the government here is under some misguided guise that the UK is going to sit back and allow them to get into business from a infrastructure standpoint, and on a capital project standpoint, then they make a sad mistake. But again, the UK can't make any moves until it is officially announced. As opposed to me saying it on the radio or someone in a group saying it on the radio, I think that in order for them to act, and this is just my opinion.
No, I hear your perspective, right? And I like, your sort of willingness to analyze it and share it publicly. But I liken that to a parent teaching a child how to make a particular meal. So you're in the kitchen, there's a gas stove. Shouldn't the parent then say to the child, these knives are sharp, this is how you properly handle the knife? Give the child some. This is how you turn the stove on and off. Right. This is a flame. So give the child instructions, safety precautions, and guide the child. As opposed to turn the child loose, child gets burned, gets cut, and then come back and say, boy, I could have told you.
Reactive instead of proactive.
Yeah. So if what you're sharing is the UK's perspective, irresponsible doesn't begin to do it, setting up to fail. I mean, there's lots of things that you could look at to say,
well, okay. And I hear where you're coming from, and maybe that may be the case in some, to some degree. But I will say this to you: is that any idea that we have that the UK may be erroneous in the idea of them wanting to see Cayman fail. Remember now, Chinese relationship, Russia relationship, America relationship, and the UK relationship. That's a global initiative.
Fair enough.
And
just pawns.
Right. So I'll tell you that the UK is not gonna sit back and watch China Harbor come in here and destroy the Cayman Islands simply because that was what they wanted. Because they're gonna put some strain on the relationship that they have with America and all that whole trade.
Right. Okay.
So what I think, and this is again based on what I've read globally, because I can assure you that I spend an immense amount of time reading what most of the initiatives are for China and why they are in certain regions. Okay, and what's happening in Jamaica with Jamalco and the bauxite and all of the aircraft aluminum grade bauxite, right? So people not understanding the whole global picture And yes, China Harbor building a port is like a speck on the globe. It's not important yet. People don't realize that once China come in here and control the port, because let me just put that in perspective for our Caymanian listeners, is that the port is the lifeline, is the umbilical cord of our society, because we make nothing here. Everything we consume is imported. Every single thing is imported. So once you put the control of that entity into a private communist interest, okay, then we have a serious issue. Okay, so that's why I believe that if it's announced that China Harbor is the preferred bidder to build this port, obviously the terms and conditions is going to then go under heavy magnifying glass. However, I think that would be a quick and speedy end when the Foreign Commonwealth Office then say, hey, wait a minute.
Okay.
We need to have a conversation. But that's my forecast.
Yep.
That's my opinion only.
I hear you, man.
Okay.
All right, here's what Susan told me. We got a call online. Are we
Beautiful.
going to the phones, Miss Susan? Good afternoon and welcome. Good afternoon. How are you, my friend? Welcome, man. Thank you for sharing with us
Afternoon.
today.
Okay, good afternoon, Mario.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter really who going to build that port.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you build that port, the whole of Georgetown will get destroyed.
Agreed.
And the owners of those buildings, the insurance companies, they're going to suffer more than anybody else. But who I'm more concerned about is those individuals who may be against the port and their homes are in that area. And when it comes to England being against China building the port, I'm not too sure about that. Because right now, the United States is warning England about getting involved with UA concerning these computers.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems as though England is ignoring warnings from the United States and getting involved with this company, who is the biggest company in the world and in China. So I don't think England will be too much against China having any involvement with this port, as you all may think. But the United States has warned countries not to get involved with England with this money business in building roads and ports, because the United States said there's nothing good behind it. And I think the government needs to cancel the port altogether. They have to cancel it altogether because they're going to regret it. Because when you have people like Captain Paul warning you about building this port when it comes to the weather, and it's my belief that you have 100-foot seas coming into Georgetown after this port is being built, has been built, and the dredging has been done in that area. And I'm a God-fearing person. And when God puts something as beautiful as those reefs and that ocean in the Georgetown Harbor, and then you take and destroy it to put down cement, you will suffer the consequences for doing so, especially after being warned by people such as Captain Paul, who has the experience in knowing the weather and what these kind of things will cause. But as the old people say before, if you can't hear, you feel. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, too, for that. And with that, let's just pause quickly, take a final break. When we come back, we have more with Mario Rankin. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring
And community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Real estate agents and developers, as well as dealers in precious metals and stones, have until Wednesday, May 29th to register with the Department of Commerce and Investment. The DCI is the agency with responsibility for ensuring real estate agents and developers, as well as dealers in precious metals and stones, are compliant with international obligations relating to anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. DCI urges businesses to register as soon as possible to avoid missing the deadline on May 29th. Registration forms are available from www.dci.gov.ky or the DCI counter at the Government Administration Building. For further details, please contact enforcement@dci.gov.ky.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Did you know that since day one, government has insisted on strategies for the cruise berthing facility that are both fiscally and environmentally responsible? No damage to 7 Mile Beach, no upland development, no government loans or guarantees.
Looking forward, looking bright.
Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 949-6990. 9 minutes and, was it, Mario, 30 seconds? Did you come to Mario as Miss Susan counts it down? 9 minutes and 27 seconds. 9 minutes. I'm just kidding. She's not doing that. Mario, in less than 10 minutes, we get a chance to. I want to ask you to put a bow on it because I prefer necktie over a bow. But I prefer Chevy over Ford, so the bows are good. Right? In our community, I just look quickly at a couple of WhatsApps that come through. So the phone lines are open if those who want to share. I want to read one, as I was saying, not only because of the great respect I have for this individual. She's a wonderful, magnificent lady. She says, in naming what is equivalent to first class and third world country, right? So don't forget the mentally ill being housed in our prison, her marriage is not for a prison. The other one I won't take time, not only because it's lengthy and but they made 3 points, and it talks about, again, where are more of the Mario rankings, either for or against an issue, but more the people who are speaking. So in that first of the 3 points, you said it more and more. I've seen it last season again. People they find a reason why they don't want to come on. Some is justified.
Right.
But I don't get it. I mean...
Well, I want to respond to the first
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
WhatsApp, and that again illustrates exactly why we have issues and why we need to start doing better.
Okay.
How in the world are we going to have mentally ill people who need special attention into the prison system, which is not equipped and able to deal with these individuals? So what do? We let them serve a couple of months in there, and then we put them back on the road, and then they do the same thing over, and then they end back in prison. So the reality is that as much as we want to boast how well everything is doing in Cayman, and this whole perception that if we want to maintain the lifestyle that we have, we must build a port. We must ask the question: whose lifestyle are you referring to? Okay, and whose well-being are you taking care of? Because if we have mentally ill people in our prison system, then we have failed, and I mean we have failed really bad, because we spent over $500,000 to renovate the Ombudsman office, just to renovate it. That's just one. We spent over $15 million in overruns at the airport. We could have built a mental institute. Again, nobody's being held accountable for these things, and we see that our people are suffering, because I can assure you Go and find out who those mentally ill people are. See the last name of them and see what background and what family they come from. Because I can assure you, if it came from the stalwart merchant class status quo, okay, those people would have been well taken care of. And they probably would have built an institute for them. Again, that's my opinion. The things that we have issues with is written on the wall, been on the wall for a long time. It's just for people like me and others who are willing to come out and brave it to interpretate what that writing says and what that means and the magnitude of the effect that it has on our people and how it affects our people. When we have those conversations, people then eyes start to open. But you can't have a politician trying to explain something to people in layman terms. You know why? Because they have a political language that they use in order to confuse you, to keep you in the dark. Right. That's the way that they control you.
At the just before the last news, I said I would publicly ask you all about it and share the comments of some of, respectful to call them the youth. Right. So high school students specifically, some that are in classes, public and private schools, whether they're social studies or civics, whatever those classes are, where they're talking about some of these issues. Some are college students getting ready to graduate or in their second or third year, as it were. And collectively, over the last little while, sharing concerns with me in relation to, all the projects the government has taken on. The national debt relative to unfunded liabilities for pension. These are students, who
right.
seemingly are aware of these things,
right.
either through the schools or through their own concerns or even in some instances, probably, the environments they work in during the summers of their parents and what have you, right? And then one indicated to me specifically just before, back for Easter, she said, if we look at what government is looking at doing in terms of capital projects, what's on the table, what's proposed, whether we get a new mental health facility, a new prison, whether we're going to be building a new courthouse, all these things, that we could be looking at billions of dollars of just initial capital expenditure, not just the servicing of it. So
right.
when we're working it. And then she said, I'm X age, so, she's in U.S. university, and it's so many dollars, so many ages there, right? So, in 30 years, she'll still be paying for this debt if it's not refinancing, if interest rates don't go up, even if the government was to issue a fixed bond.
Well, exactly, and the port is a case in point, because you're going to turn over an entity that's making $25 to $30 million a year now that goes into central government's revenue, who makes up a large part of our GDP. You're going to turn that over to a private company for 25 years only because the government have those restraints of the FFR, the framework for fiscal responsibility. So we're not allowed to borrow anymore. So we got to enter into a private partnership.
But fiscal, sorry.
But the reality is that she's 100% right, or he's 100% right. Yeah. That if these things go wrong and they become they become a part of our national debt, individuals like her is going to have to come back here and carry the weight of the weight on their shoulder in order to repay these things. Now the biggest issue that I have is that how is it that we have an entity that's generating that amount of money on an annual basis, and we're not able to go to the FCO and argue the case? Let's just say, hypothetically, we were going to build this port. Why is it that we couldn't argue the case that we should finance it ourselves and collect that $18 a head tax and keep all that money in the government coffers? Or why we just didn't borrow it from the pension fund? There's over $2.5–3 billion in the pension fund that is mandated by government. Well, let's borrow that, because now, if it's a good business model for a company to own our port for 25 years at a certain amount per month and certain amount per head tax, why is it that we can't give that to our pensioners?
But if there's $2.5–3 billion,
and keep it here,
right, of the pension funds, if we put 10%, for argument's sake, in the pop birds and
that's
calls,
$300 million.
Yeah, $340 million. I hear what you're sharing,
but I'm just saying, Sterling, that is a real plausible, reasonable solution to our issue.
All right. Let me ask. We talked earlier about, as you shared, the solutions. So we're going to... Go ahead.
But let me just finish that thought.
Yeah.
But the reason why we're not using the pension fund The reason why we're unable to find it in ourselves, invest in our own people, is because the politicians already got these sweetheart deals done with the likes of China Harbor and all of those unscrupulous bidders to build roads and line their pockets and all these other things. That's one of the reasons why we're not looking at our own people to invest in. The pensions can afford to do every capital project in this country with returns. Higher than what we get now in investment vehicles in which they give us statements on.
So we're going to leave here, go out, go back to our desk, go out to the supermarkets, go do the things we're going to do. Tomorrow's going to, God's willing, we're going to wake up and be a part of it. So as the day in the weeks unfold, we're going to get feedback from people. It's going to be positive, it's going to be negative, hopefully it'll be constructive. What are we going to do to make it better?
I'm going to put all of my thoughts and ideas into an electronic format, which changes up the voice and whoever it is, and I'm going to just email it to everybody so that they can subliminally hear, and maybe it'll penetrate. Now, I only say that because a lot of people discredit what someone says based on who the person is. Yeah. And fair enough, because that's the public perception of most things. However, if I say to you, Sterling, don't run in that direction because there are armed people down there shooting everybody in sight. Now, granted, it's your prerogative to take my advice or not.
Right.
Okay? But if you run down there and that happens and two other people see that, then why are the other people who I now giving that same advice to not listening? You understand? We just saw the proof.
Yeah.
We just saw that it happened. So why? Because of the messenger?
Right.
Because you don't like the messenger?
Well,
you'd rather die?
Yeah. That is the instance, but here's another side of a coin. Not necessarily the same coin. Many people know, but won't say. After the fact, I could have told you so. Where are those people who know and are unwilling to share, helping to edify, helping to inform?
Those people are there. Unfortunately, not a lot of them are coming out. I would encourage them to do so. But a lot of people have their own personal reasons.
True.
But I would leave you with the last 3 seconds of the show. That the world has zero problems. You know why? It's because we fail to apply the solutions. And the problem is that all the problems in the world that we say we have, it's only because we don't apply the solutions. And solutions are only applied based on lobbying dollars. That's my personal opinion.
Well then, let's find as electorate, start lobbying for, what is for the greater good. Mario, thank you. I say this not so much in jest, but seriously, I hope that you're tying hair with me and you're keeping my company and don't put you in too much, hot water. But thanks for the courage to share. For those who take issue with what you say, let's do so respectfully and responsibly, and let's ensure that as a people, we're not only informed, but we're courageous and convicted in the sense that we have not just the passion and the compassion, but equally important, the civility and presence of mind to work hand in glove for a better Cayman today and for future generations. Hey, thanks very much, man. I really appreciate it. We invite you to come over or to join Mr. Art for the record. Come and join him, be a part of the things he shares in the morning, and of course join us for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Miss Susan is right there. She has an excellent intern. She's showing her all the good things that are happening. And if you want to make a request, there's some good songs that you can, But if you just want to be, enthralled with the songs that she played, just listen. You have to do nothing. She do all the work for you. You know what I'm saying? Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.